So what's interesting is not the 3D itself, is how you use the data coming from someone else, okay, from sensors, for example, from your quality database, so that you can see and understand what's happening in your project live.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. With us today is Jean-Marc Le Roux, founder and CEO of Aerys, the parent company of SmartShape, a French group developing solutions for a smart 3D digital twin. Thanks for joining us today, Jean-Marc.
Thank you.
I wanted to start by diving into the idea of a smart 3D digital twin. Digital twin is everywhere right now in shipbuilding. It's the hottest buzzword if you were to pick one. So what makes it a smart digital twin? What's the difference? What differentiates a regular one from a smart one?
That's a very good question. What we call a smart digital twin, and that's actually why we named the product SmartShape. Okay, what makes it smart is the fact that in addition to having data inside the digital twin, having, for example, the 3D CAD information of every object and having attributes on those objects, you also have code. So in addition to data, you have code. So you have behaviors inside that digital twin. So it reacts, it behaves according to how this data will change through time. Let's say, for example, that you have to check on the quality of welds, for example. You'd like to see which weld is okay, which weld is not, very quickly. So to do that, for example, you can have code that will change the color of those welds based on the quality inspection. Okay, so suddenly it's not just data, it's coming alive and it has a behavior that matches a specific process, a specific traits, a specific know-how, so it's smarter and easier to use.
And so is there a relationship there with the digital thread and the idea of information changing through time and throughout the life cycle of the project?
Absolutely. What we see at our clients today is that the first step is to have this digital thread, to have continuity between what you have into multiple data warehouse databases and any kind of data you have on the shipyard or in design office. So when you have that thread and you can go down to the shop floor, down to even operations and maintenance, that's a good first step. And then the problem you might encounter then is that you want the data you have now on the shop floor go back into the original data source. So that would be the second step, where inside your SmartShape, you actually not just read information, but you actually take notes, change attributes, and so on and so on. So first step is to have the thread, and then is to make it bi-directional so that everyone sees the same thing at the same time, whether they're using the digital twin in SmartShape or a different application somewhere else.
I also just wanted to step back a bit and maybe talk about what, in your view, what are the upcoming challenges more generally to shipbuilders in terms of innovation and digital transformation, and how this digital twin and thread will fit into the strategy? What do you see as some of the main challenges?
So the clients we have today using SmartShape are mainly big shipyards. So I can only talk for those specifically. What we see is that those projects are getting more and more complex to build. If we talk about a cruise ship, for example, clients are getting more and more demanding in terms of innovation regarding the shape of the ship, but also regarding efficiency. So there is a lot of work going on getting better propulsion, using less fuel, and these kind of things. And so those projects are continually getting more and more constrained and more complex to build. So our clients, to be able to foster innovation and still be competitive, they need to be smarter. They need to get better at building more complex projects and keep their margin afloat or even higher than they used to. So to that, they need to use new tools, and SmartShape is one of them.
Are the challenges they're experiencing unique to shipbuilding, or are you building off things that have happened in other industries?
Interestingly, no. Shipbuilding historically has a good advantage. CAD has been used in the shipbuilding industry, even before it was used to build planes, for example. So historically, they have a good track record, and you see this same kind of problems to build anything that is even remotely complex. So in the industry, infrastructure, they have the same problem. Anytime you have multiple trades, any kind of complexity, and anytime basically some worker is gonna see an object for the first and maybe last time, when you have that complexity, then this kind of solution applies.
You mentioned that shipbuilding is using CAD even before other industries, but there's definitely the stereotype now that shipbuilding is a conservative or a slow-moving industry. Is that true in your view today?
That's not true in my view. I mean, aeronautics might be moving faster today, but it doesn't mean that they have that much of a head start, at least not in digital twin. Let me give you an example. We work with Chantiers de l'Atlantique in France at Saint-Nazaire, and in the same city, okay, they also have Airbus. So they also have aerospace industry. And what's clear is that some of the work we've been doing with Chantiers de l'Atlantique is ahead of what Airbus has been doing. So it's very hard to say which is really more advanced, but really there is nothing to be shy about. The shipbuilding industry has big cards to play, and it might be a bit conservative, but we're having a lot of traction in the shipbuilding industry. So it really depends on, I guess, the kind of shipbuilding we're talking about and the kind of shipyard. But we're seeing good traction.
It seems to me that at the heart of any of these innovations and the digital twin in general is data and the shipyard's information. Is that true in your view as well?
Yeah. Interestingly, SmartShape is a lot about showing stuff in 3D. But what we say first is that 3D is actually meaningless. It's just a way to display the information in a nice and understandable way for workers. Okay, so it's just a good human interface for complex data to be displayed. So what's interesting is not the 3D itself, is how you use the data coming from someone else. Okay, from sensors, for example, from your quality database, so that you can see and understand what's happening in your project live, and use the 3D model as some kind of layer to do that, okay, to make it more relevant and more meaningful. If you have a spreadsheet, you don't really understand what's happening. If you have a 3D blueprint, the human eye can understand and perceive better what's happening in real time. So data combined to 3D, but 3D alone does not make much sense. Data alone is not easy to understand. Combination of both, you have the best of both worlds.
From the solution provider perspective, what do you consider the role of partnerships and the idea of platform of platforms and integrating data?
If the shipbuilding industry might be conservative, as you mentioned, what's for sure that it's a major industry. So there is already a whole ecosystem of vendors, integrators, and so on in the shipbuilding industry. So our view is that we're good at something. We're good at being a software vendor, doing the R&D and developing that software, that specific piece of software to do SmartShape, to do smart digital twin. And then we really want to connect with everyone else in the industry and leverage what they're good at to make things even better for everyone. So a few examples regarding integrations. In Canada, we're working with Innovmarine so that we can leverage them to target more shipyards in Canada and to be able to have a dedicated integrator in North America. And that's really great work we're doing with them. With SSI, for example, they are a software vendor on the CAD design solution side of things. And we're very happy to be able to say that SSI projects can go seamlessly into SmartShape. And finally, on the more standard side of things, we're working with the OCX consortium and Bureau Veritas so we can, leverage the open source and the open standards of the industry so that we can really be compatible with as much players as possible.
When you're working with partners like us, with NF Marine, what makes the relationship successful? Is it about having similar values or working together well in some other area?
I think the first key step is to really define the scope of each player, okay, and make sure it's well understood. And then it's really about collaboration, being able to leverage really the strengths of each player is a key component. Okay, so for example, Innov Marine, they have done a tremendous work being there in the shipbuilding industry for years, and have a great understanding of the SSI ecosystem. Okay, so we really leverage that, and we really get help from them from an integrator perspective and from also the sales perspective as being an integrator in the shipbuilding industry. Okay, so leveraging those strengths is very important.
And now, kind of looking towards the future, what are some of your upcoming initiatives or innovations you're looking to take advantage of in the next 1, 2, maybe 3 years?
So I mentioned OCX as a standard format, specifically for classification. But I think it's a really good trend. It's getting momentum, and we're very happy to be able to today deliver project in production using OCX. That's an ongoing work. So we're very happy about that. I think it's really important. And something which is more about our own R&D, we're working on a new 3D engine to be able to display entire ships at once on tablets or in web browsers. So even massive giant cruise ships that they're building at Chantiers, okay, they'll soon be able to visualize all of the ship from one go and be able to zoom on a single screw and select it and see who has actually been working on that specific screw on their tablet or in a web browser using 4G or 5G on the shipyard. So being able to have massive digital twins available anywhere to anyone in just one click.
Is this something the shipyards are asking for? They're saying, I need to see the entire ship, but also be able to single out that one screw? Or is this more just the natural progression of your projects and your product?
Well, it's a bit of both, actually. And for sure, being able to visualize not just, say, a section or compartment, but have the full context of a specific task you have to do, those are subjects that are coming up in the roadmap of our prospects. So now that they can share easily digital twin between the multiple trades, now they want to expand what kind of work they can do around that. And so a lot of time it requires to see more and more and more, and eventually the whole ship at once. Maybe not all systems at once, maybe only the structures and cables, okay? But at some point in the future, we predict that soon enough, some work will have to be done by viewing the entire ship. That's from an end user perspective, but we also have to keep in mind the machine learning and AI perspective. When you want to do some machine learning and AI, you want to be able to work on the whole ship and not just a fraction of it. You want to be able to learn and leverage the whole ship at once to compute stuff. So it's interesting to be able to leverage gigabytes and tens or maybe hundreds of gigabytes of digital twin to do this kind of tasks.
What is that machine learning and AI role in shipbuilding? We were talking with some other of our partners and it came up as well. And it seems like another innovation that's bubbling up to the surface and maybe will be implemented soon.
So it could be many things. For example, in SmartShape today, one of the things we do a lot is progress reporting in real life, in real time. I mean, what's happening on the shop floor. So based on this information, for example, machine learning could be able to extrapolate how the project is going to move forward in the future. So with all the existing track record for progress reporting, machine learning could extrapolate based on that, for example. Machine learning, since we also have each revision of the 3D model inside SmartShape, machine learning could also be able to extrapolate between changes asked from the shop floor and actual changes in the 3D design, could be able to extrapolate how to, for example, automatically apply those changes. Okay, so the machine learning could learn the pattern that is applied when a change is required, okay, and apply that automatically and require only human validation instead of human intervention. Okay, so AI might be able to learn that, how to fix problems, how to fix clashes, and these kind of things, and help the design office to be faster and faster and to converge toward an as-built digital twin faster and easier.
Yeah, change management is such a huge challenge across the entire industry. So I'm sure that's, it'll be a great value add. Just before we end off, I know we're running out of time here. I wanted to ask you, in your opinion, is there a missing piece shared across shipyard digital strategies? Is there one thing that maybe shipyards should all be looking towards that right now is not being really addressed?
One of the main issues we have is regarding the way shipyards or different stakeholders consider data as a topic and data governance as a topic. We consider that the data and the ship itself are one and only whole. Okay, that's one thing, and they're not separable. And so it's very important to have a strategy regarding data, okay? Not just CAD, but the whole data in the company, so that this whole is whole again, and applications can leverage that in an easy and efficient way. Okay, so it's a lot about thinking about that thread you were talking about. It's actually multiple threads, okay, that have to be intertwined together. And it's very important to understand that this data is it's the new oil, right? So for a shipyard, these data they're producing, these data they already have in databases, they have to find a way to leverage it and to be more efficient thanks to it. So it has to do a lot about how they consider this data and how they keep it safe, how they leverage it, and what tool they build on top of it.
Thanks so much, Jean-Marc. It was great to get your insights, and I'm sure we'll get a chance to talk again.
Thank you very much.